Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Raising Cane studio.
Let's rock!
And off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. It's AFR, presented by Decision Critical, Concierge Nursing. Not today in the Raising Cane studio. We're here at Marucci Hitter's house, one of our favorite homes away from home, and thrilled to be here for the next 3 hours. So thanks for hanging out with us. The NBA draft is in the rearview mirror. We will get reaction. Scott Kushner in 15 minutes. Ross Jackson is here next hour. We got some really interesting tidbits on the LSU football team, including a potential flip that we're going to talk about as well, as it is commit season, as Shea Dixon might say. But let us begin as we do every single day.
It's time to pop the top on another edition of AFR with Bud Light. Drink easy.
All right, let's begin with the NBA draft. The Pelicans, as we know, had just one pick. They did not, in fact, make a trade. They did use the 58th overall pick late in round 2, and this is how it sounded.
With the 58th pick in the 2026 NBA draft, the New Orleans Pelicans select Jaron Pierre Jr. from Southern Methodist University.
All right, so Jaron Pierre, the really interesting part about Pierre is he's coming home. This is a St. Aug kid. He's from New Orleans, went to St. Aug, finished up his college career at SMU this year. He's 23 years old, goes into the draft, and is picked up by his hometown New Orleans Pelicans. We are going to get a little more info on Pierre, how this all factors in. Billy Embody covered Pierre at SMU. He's going to be with us in 90 minutes from right now. But when we look at Pierre and how he may fit here with the New Orleans Pelicans, there's a couple of things that I like. His personal coach, Rory Papillon, raved about the work ethic for Jaron Pierre.
I mean, Jaron Pierre, he's one of those guys that, loves being in the gym, whether it's before or after practice. So we used to finish high school practice, man, and he would just, ask me, Coach, can we get 100 makes? Coach, can we get a few hundred makes? Coach, can we put in work before? Coach, can we put in work after? So he was always eager to learn the game and always eager to get better. So, that's one of the biggest things is, loving the game, but also loving the process and staying consistent and committed to it.
Love to hear that. And we'll learn more about Jaron Pierre and how he fits. But let's just be honest. When you're 58th pick of the draft in the back of round 2, those are not guaranteed contracts. It's seldom those guys make a roster. So he's got an uphill climb to make this team. We'll see if he can. And you look at some of the grades that are out after the draft now. Yahoo gave New Orleans a C. ESPN gave New Orleans a D on the draft. I think that probably has less to do with Jaron Pierre and just sort of the residual effect of last year's decision to move from the 23rd pick to the 13th pick, giving up this year's one, which became the 8th pick, which went to Atlanta. So all New Orleans was able to do is add a late second-round pick. But with trades aplenty, Naz Reid being part of a trade today involving LaMelo Ball, it is highly, highly likely that New Orleans is not done yet with their roster for next year. So there'll be plenty of offseason work to do still to restructure this roster into one that can be a contender, as New Orleans looks like they're not interested in a rebuild. They're pressing forward. We'll see if Jaron Pierre is part of that. So we will talk to Scott Kushner will be with us here in about a dozen minutes from right now. We'll talk to Scott. The other story that I wanted to hit on, you might have noticed that LSU baseball lost a commitment. Colton Christman is his name. He's a left-handed pitcher out of Las Vegas. And I get it, most people don't follow deeply baseball recruiting. So when I talk about a left-handed pitcher out of Las Vegas, it may not be someone whose name you've heard before. There might be many people who only heard Colton Christman's name when he decommitted. But I'm not here really to talk about Christman or what that means. Look, LSU needs lefties, and they'll certainly get them, be it portal or incoming players. But I kind of want to do some math with you. I hate math. I'm terrible at math. But this is going to be easy math that even an idiot like I can do. So when you think about this decommitment, in terms of numbers, it makes sense. So follow me. If you look at LSU's roster from a year ago, when you look at guys that are out of eligibility, guys that have already entered the transfer portal, guys that are likely to be drafted and signed like Curiel and Brown and Sheeran and Garcia, my best guess is that LSU should return 18 players from this year's roster, 18. You've got 24 high school signees, now 23 with Chrisman decommitting. And of those 23, I think they probably expect 13 to 14 to make it to campus. Let's say you lose 9 or 10 of them to the draft. So if you go 18 returning and 14 freshmen, that puts you at 32. Remember, the House settlement set roster limits. It got away with 11.7. So everyone that's on the roster gets a scholarship, but they set the roster limit at 34. So if you have 18 returning and 14 freshmen that actually make it to campus, that puts you at 32. And you've already added 6 players via the portal. That puts you at 38. And this week, they're hosting a lefty, a righty. There was the report from Pete Nakos of On3 that they're pursuing Angel Leia from Oregon. I mean, you're talking about now pushing closer to 40. So you can kind of do the math now, right? Like, you don't have enough roster spots. Now, there's one caveat, okay? There's one exception, and it's the DSA tag. So the DSA tag, we've talked about this before, but for those who aren't familiar, I'll remind you. A DSA is a designated student athlete tag, and this was part of the House settlement. It was designed to make sure guys and gals, depending on the sport, didn't lose their roster spot because of roster limits. So think about baseball. If in a year ago where you had higher roster limits and you had players like with the extra COVID year that were granted extra eligibility, you might have had rosters that pushed 40 people. Well, if all of a sudden now House settlement goes into play and the hard cap roster is 34, well, there might be athletes that you'd like to keep on your roster, but you're over 34, so what do? Like, those guys just out of luck? You cut them? Well, so the NCAA allowed in that House settlement a DSA tag, a designated student athlete tag, where that player, as long as you tagged them last year, would not, for the duration of their college career, count against the eligibility or the roster limit. So my point was they should have DSA'd everybody on last year's roster. So none of them would ever, for the duration of their career, count against the 34. Now, I don't know if LSU did that. They might have, so that could alleviate some of the numbers. But just when you look at what we know, the players returning, the portal players coming in, and the freshmen that you have signed and are likely to end up on campus, you're over 34. So Colton Chrisman decommitting, I'm using air quotes here, is more likely a situation where the LSU coaching staff is looking at the bottom of their class and saying, hey, man, look, we may not have a roster spot for you. So it's probably a better idea for you right now to reopen your recruitment and see what's out there, which is a great thing to do here at the end of June, because it gives him the month of July before the draft, while other programs are looking at who they might lose, maybe players that went in a portal and someone needs a left-handed pitcher. It gives him a month and a half before school starts in August to find a new spot to go enroll and be part of fall ball. So the timing of that, I thought, it's more than likely a situation where the LSU coaching staff said, hey, look, we're probably not going to have a spot for you. You need to go find. It's being purged. It's a rude way of saying it, but it's a reality of the situation. So, and when you do the math, as I just spelled it out there for you, there's probably got to be more. Because if you do, in fact, get, say, 14 members of your freshman class to campus, and you've already added 6 portal guys, either some of those freshman signees or some guys on the current roster aren't going to be back. Now, you can carry a higher number in fall, but you're going to have to get that number in line by the time you open up the season in the spring. So just something to percolate and keep an eye on it. Don't be surprised if you see more attrition of guys leaving the roster, be it high school players that have been committed or or guys currently on the roster that end up entering the portal. Remember, the portal is open for the month of June, so you got 5 more days with the portal open for players to enter their name in the portal. Don't be surprised if we see even more attrition as LSU's building the roster for 2027. All right, it's After Further Review. Show Open Every Day is brought to you by Bud Light. Drink easy with the great taste of Bud Light, the official beer of AFR, the official beer of your Fighting Tigers of LSU. 4th of July is right around the bend, and they do have those special edition cases of Bud Light honoring Folds of Honor. I've told you about this before. Ever since Folds of Honor came into practice, it's a great organization which funds scholarships for the children of fallen servicemen and women. For a portion of the proceeds of all sales goes to Folds of Honor. So if you see those a special edition Bud Light boxes with the Folds of Honor logo on it, know that when you grab that case of Bud Light with the Bud Light with the Folds of Honor logo on it, you're supporting the families of our fallen servicemen and women. So happy 4th of July, and drink easy with a great taste of Bud Light, the official beer of AFR. Okay, it is After Further Review. We're glad to have you hanging out with us here on a Monday edition. Excuse me, on a Thursday. Oh, it is not Monday. On a I need my vacation so bad. On a Thursday edition of AFR, we're here at Marucci Hitter's house, and our Thursday shows, as always, are presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. We'll knock out a quick break. Our buddy Scott Kushner will join us next, longtime Pelicans columnist. Let him react to what the Pelicans did in the draft and what might be ahead now, considering they really didn't do anything in the draft. That's next. It's AFR.
AFR.
We're brought to you by Duplessis Builders. DuplessisPools.com, DuplessisPools.com. That's where you can find them, online at DuplessisPools.com. You know, I often say that at Duplessis, it's a higher quality attention to detail. Their workmanship is what allows them to give you a 10-year workmanship warranty. They take the time to do it right at Duplessis Pools. Well, part of that is, after the excavation, right, when they dig the hole, they shoot gunite on day 2 or 3, and then they will not move on to the next step because the curing requirements for concrete is 21 days. So they will not move on to the next step for 21 days. So if someone tells you they can build your pool in 2 or 3 weeks, they skipping steps, y'all. You want it done right, a beautiful pool that will last with a 10-year workmanship warranty, you want Duplessis Pools. Check them out online. Start that process today. It's DuplessisPools.com, DuplessisPools.com, DuplessisPools.com.
After Further Review with Matt Moscona, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. Healthcare for your lifestyle. Learn more at DecisionCriticalBR.com.
Along here from Marucci's Hitter's house. NBA draft is in the rearview mirror. The Pelicans had just one pick. They select Jaron Pierre in the back of round 2 at the 58th overall pick. Our buddy Scott Kushner, longtime Pelicans columnist and podcaster, media guy extraordinaire, good enough to hop aboard with us because I know he's never short on opinions when it comes to this franchise. Scott, how are you, man?
I'm fantastic. I'm at your Hitter's house. I got one right by my house now in Metairie, too.
Let's go, bro. Hitter's house is a great spot, man. Cages everywhere, gear. Brings me right back to my youth, man. Come on. Hey, next time I'm here, come on up. I'll even pay for you to take some hacks in the cage. It's worth the trip to Baton Rouge. How about that? Don't go by the one by your house. Just come up here.
I'll bring my 6-year-old. We practically live there. It's great. We'll
have a great time. Okay. Pelicans draft grade. What you got?
What is it, an N/A? Is that the not applicable? That failed to complete the test? No. it's like the kid who, stares at the test for 10 minutes, then just walks into the teacher and then walks out of the room. I'm sorry. No, they didn't really do anything. They drafted a player who, 58's the definition of a flyer, right? And maybe he'll sell some tickets for the Lake Town Squadron. I think that might be the biggest upside at 58 that you can get. But they've done this before. They didn't have a first round pick a couple times under Del Debs in that era. So it's not as if it's new to this franchise, but it really is. It is a night that is 2 nights now essentially are meaningless for the team because they might end up still making a big move this offseason. Like, there's still time. I think there's a lot of people have sort of flushed it because so much hype was there leading up to the draft. But really, as far as draft night, I just don't think they got the value they were expecting for their own pieces. And they wanted to move up. I think they made it pretty clear they wanted to move up and move into the draft. There was just really never an opportunity that they saw as making the sense that it did last year, which they paid a king's ransom essentially just to move up a few places last year, and this year they just didn't see it.
So, great segue. So clearly they wanted multiple ones for either Trey Murphy or Herb Jones. What do you think about their decision not to move off their valuation of their players?
I think that's wise right now, especially if, there's a lot of chatter. They really value Nate Ament, and I think he went at 10. That's Milwaukee, and it's like if you couldn't get ahead of that without getting anything of value back for it, like, and also, you're taking a risk. Like, Nate Ament might be a top 5 pick if he had come out the prior year or the year after, but as far as this draft, he was 10, and it's like they really thought there was value there. And it just didn't turn out that their players had as much as they thought. And sometimes it's just the way it goes. And this team is not in a position where they want to let the whole thing implode, win 15 games, and then get to next year's draft. And so you can't just give away your players in an attempt to be bad. Like, there's really just no side for that anymore. And so if they're not going to get any value back for it, there really is no point. There was a time when just simply having a fire sale for the sake of having a fire sale and starting over actually was a viable NBA strategy. And with the new lottery odds and really being one of the 3 worst teams in the league is now a penalty against you. And so there was really no reason to make that move unless you were going to get something that you want.
Is their approach, Scott, as it appears that they are not in tear down rebuild mode? Do you feel that's the right approach?
They have never, ever really been in that mode because of the way that the franchise is situated and the way that the way the market is. They've just never felt comfortable going and just raising the entire thing and building from the ground up. And really, in order to do that, you would have to think that you're going to get a top 3, top 4 pick, even in a year like this where it was a deep, good draft. You would need a better pick than just 10 in order to really think you could do that. They've got pieces that they think are good players. I think they now have a coach that they believe in who they want to give a reasonable chance to. I think it would make sense from the way we've seen every other NBA team practically get built from a market like New Orleans is usually starting from somewhere close to the bottom or the very bottom and then building your way up through the draft. Or you have to make a really big trade, like Indiana for Tyrese Halliburton or something. The Pelicans kind of aren't doing any of those things right now. And it's a very this middling position that, middling I think would be a huge improvement over in the last 2 years. But yeah, they really aren't going to do it. And with these new lottery odds, it is very much a wait and see of what the approach and what the incentive structure actually looks like as these teams try to build their way out of mediocrity.
Scott Kushner is our guest. So let's talk about what a trade might look like, because I think we agree, like, they're not done trying to fix this roster. You're not running it back with the same crew that won 26 games. So look, we saw LaMelo Ball traded.
Who knows?
What's that?
Who knows? It's possible they could do it. I mean, I don't know.
I guess it's possible, but Scott, I could also say, look, as evidenced by the fact that they were at least willing to entertain the possibility of trading either Trey Murphy or Herb Jones in this draft, they are very clearly looking and recognizing, okay, we're going to do something to improve this roster. So we saw Naz Reid, LaMelo Ball swap. Isaiah Stewart got traded to the Grizzlies. There's a report out there from ESPN that the Celtics are actively trying to trade Jaylen Brown. Is that something you think is realistic?
It is realistic in that the Celtics have kind of stepped the line, right? For the, this is a great core. Ford has won a ton of games in Boston, won a championship in Boston. But once you cross that line into this guy's in trade talks, and he's been one of your biggest pieces in the history of, the last 20 years of the franchise, it's very hard to come back from that. And so once you start realizing that Boston might have gone to the point of no return, that Jaylen Brown could be available. And Jaylen Brown, I think, almost immediately would be the most decorated player in franchise history upon his arrival. They've really not had anybody like him come to New Orleans. The amount of All-NBA players, the amount of All-NBA teams he's made, All-Star teams, championship, all those things. They've never had anybody like that. So the concept of it, I could see ownership being, cheering that on if Joe Dumars is able to make that move or wants to make that move. And I don't think this team is afraid of giving up long-term in exchange for short-term either. That's not going to be something that scares them off of making a move. I think they would trade first. They traded an unprotected first-round pick last year. Now, it was for a rookie, so it's a little different, but I do think they are willing to make big moves on evaluations that they feel are right. And look, you're going to give Mosley a chance. You're going to give Dumars a chance. You immediately put yourself into at least a position of the playoffs if you go make a move like that. And you've got a lot of pieces that have a bunch of big money tied to them, so you can cobble together the finances properly to make a move like that. And look, I would agree you have to break up this group. I think this is the least relevant this team has been since they've been here. I mean, Matt, would you agree? I know you're in Baton Rouge, but it feels like no one is even talking about them as if they don't exist half the time. And you're going, you got to do something. You can't win 22 games in back-to-back years and keep rolling the same guys out there and think that it's going to get better. It's certainly just in a lot. So much is predicated on Zion's health for so long. And Zion was fairly healthy. And guess what? He's not that good. And the unknown of him actually probably held you back longer than you should have as a franchise, because you kept thinking once this guy plays, we've got a 50-win team. And it's you don't. Yeah. He's just not that guy. And so now I do think you need to see a major change. He is probably the most obvious candidate to move, but I don't think he fetches anywhere near the value that they initially believed he would be worth maybe, 365 days ago.
Yeah. You talked about have they ever been less relevant? The hard part is you win 26 games and then you don't have a first-round pick to generate any type of excitement around who that might be. And so you do just get sort of discarded to the wasteland. If I asked you, and I don't know that you've given this a ton of thought, Scott, so it's okay if you don't have specifics, but if I asked you what type of deal would you want to do, a player you target or a position, or what player you would like to move and maybe what you'd like to get in return, what would something like that look like, even broad structure?
I honestly do think, and I know that the Pelicans have continued to say no publicly. That's still every time the rumor has started for Ja Morant, there's been a lot of hand waving from the Pelicans basically saying no. And look, I get it. He comes with a whole bunch of problems, most of them off the court. But look, he can be had for a very cheap price as far as moving off your good players. You do not have to move a lot of players. You can probably just move a couple of picks and maybe even couple is a stretch. Memphis is trying to move off of this guy who is otherworldly talented, who has shown he can take a team and push them into the postseason. The risk to get him is low. The risk when he's on the team is that he could be a disaster. But look, they're a disaster right now. The Pelicans are the exact type of team who should make a move like that, where it is very low risk and very high reward. And if it's terrible, guess what? You're terrible anyway. Yeah. What's the difference? And it's the same. I just feel like there's a lot of caution when some of these guys are worried about their job or whatever. It's who cares? Go try to make a move to make yourself better. But Joe Dumars has been in the NBA forever. Go make a big move. Try to be relevant. Try to do something. And Jaylen Brown, I think, would be along the same vein, but he would be significantly more costly to the roster that you currently have. Whereas Ja Morant, I think you could get back for very little. And I do think he fits a lot of the holes that you have right now. Now, not defensively, but you could do a lot offensively between him and Zion and Murray. I mean, you're going to have and especially if Trey Murphy's still there to spread out the court, like you would have some real options there. And you could get him for next to nothing, considering they're basically trying to give him away. Look, if you're an established playoff team or a team that you think is one move away from making the finals or something, yeah, you probably don't go after a wild card like John Morant, who's, filling up strip clubs with $1 bills. The Pelicans are not in that place. The Pelicans are a team that can be going and trying to find any strike of lightning that will help them go from the 14th best team in the West to the 8th best team in the West. That would be a humongous improvement.
All I heard was endorsement deals on Bourbon Street. That's all I heard you say just now. I don't know that this could fit any better. He's Scott Kushner. We appreciate it, man. Thank you always for the depressing chat, but trying to bring some levity to a terrible situation.
Thanks, Matt. Have a good one.
All right, we'll see you. It's After Further Review. Thanks for hanging out with us. We're here at Marucci's Hitter's House. We're brought to you by Parish Restoration. ParishRestoration.com. Kill mold, remove odor. Tell you every single day. They'll come by. Jim Woodworth and the gang. They'll always give you that free estimate. You can start on the website at ParishRestoration.com. If you have or have had water intrusion as a result of the rain and the storms, you see a water spot on your ceiling, chances are that didn't show up today. Like the spot maybe showed up today, but how long was water dripping in your roof? Well, maybe you have wet insulation, and because it's wet and humid, that's a breeding ground for mold. Like, don't risk it. Call Parish Restoration. They'll come spray their patented non-toxic dry fog. They'll knock out mold, mildew, other harmful pathogens, odor. It's a great treatment. It's effective. It's cost effective. Man, they can get your house fogged in half a day. Check them out, ParishRestoration.com, ParishRestoration.com. All right, we appreciate Scott, as always, for joining us. Love having conversations with Scott. He's got great perspective, and he's unapologetically honest when talking about this franchise, which, I want them to be good so bad. I want them to be relevant so badly because I do like the NBA, and there's the professional part of my job, which is I would love to have another team that's relevant that people cared about that we talk about because we've seen it spurts. In 2008, that team that went to the Western Conference semifinals and went to a Game 7 with San Antonio, man, it was Hornet fever at that time. I know it's been almost 20 years now, but that was incredible with Chris Paul and David West and the Crescent City connection. It was so much fun, and people were consumed by that team. And even in 2018, 2019, when they made the postseason with AD and they hosted the Dubs here, it was like people were excited. They won the playoff series against Portland. And that was Dame. They were like, people will care, man. They will care. They want a reason to care. You got to give them a reason, and you can't win 26 games and run it back with the same team. Like, you got to go do something to show you're trying to improve this roster. Now, they didn't do it in the draft. That's okay, because I'm not, as Scott said, I'm not okay just fire sale on your roster for nothing, because you can't just count on, with the draft lottery, just making sure you have a top pick. You would have done it this year. But if you can go make a move and try to improve your roster, yeah, I'm here for it. So I'm not gonna crush them right now, because I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt to say, let's see what an offseason move may look like for this franchise as they move forward. But if we get to the start of next season and they haven't made some type of significant addition to this roster, it's indefensible. So, patience, I suppose. All right, back to irrelevance. It's After Further Review. We'll knock out a quick break. The NCAA keeps making moves. There's a pretty significant one that's on the table about the future of off-season work in college football. I'll explain to you next. We'll go around the SEC. It's AFR.
AFR.
We're brought to you by Goodwood, men's sexual wellness, yourgoodwood.com, yourgoodwood.com. We talk all the time about the many different treatments they offer, but I want you to remember, lowest prices, never any contracts. Lowest prices, never any contracts. Like, if you're a man and you're on HRT, like if you're paying a membership fee at your men's clinic, well, you're already overpaying, because there's never going to be a membership fee at Goodwood. And then also, every 6 months or so, you go do your blood labs. And I know, because I do this. And at other clinics, they charge you for the blood labs. At Goodwood, they pick up that expense. They don't pass that on to you. So if you're somewhere else for your HRT treatment, you're probably overpaying. So check out our friends at Goodwood. They're on Drusilla, and they're online at yourgoodwood.com, yourgoodwood.com. It's hormone replacement therapy, tons of different peptide options as well, as so many people are learning about peptides as it becomes more mainstream. You get them all at one place, yourgoodwood.com. ProFormLA.com, ProFormLA.com. That's ProForm Steel. Start at the website. Remember, you can always get a quote at the website. Easy to use, ProFormLA.com. If you are thinking about putting in a metal building, it doesn't matter if it's a shed in your backyard or you're an industrial facility who needs a giant metal building, you want ProForm Steel. First of all, Brandon Golson, industry leader. If you've been in metal buildings for a while, you know who Brandon is. But he's a member of the licensing board, ethical dude, and they have just a great operation over at ProForm Steel, and a couple of things that stand out. Of course, when you order online, you can pick the style, the size, color, the doors. You could submit it all in the form. You're going to get a call back the same day with that estimate. And they use American-made materials on everything. Oh, by the way, free delivery. You buy a building from them, no matter the size, they're delivering it for free. ProFormLA.com.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. Healthcare for your lifestyle. Learn more at DecisionCriticalBR.com.
With us here, we are at Marucci Hitter's House in Baton Rouge. Such an awesome place, man. Love coming by here. Remember, if you want to play baseball or softball like the pros, visit us here at Hitter's House. It's the superstore from the official bats of Major League Baseball. You heard Scott Kushner just a minute ago talk about the Hitter's House in New Orleans. It's Baton Rouge, Lafayette, New Orleans, plus indoor cages, all the latest gear open 24/7 with member access. You get your own key card. You swipe it. You come hit whenever you want. Visit hittershouse.com. Hittershouse.com. Hitter's House, train like the pros. Keep an eye on this, because this week around college athletics, there has been it's been a landmark change and some seismic shifts in rules governing college athletics, most notably the 5-for-5 rule, doing away with red shirts and waivers, and it's 5 years to play 5, and the age limit and all that sort of stuff. We've talked about it plenty, and it's been massive. But the Division I Football Oversight Committee is also looking at several other amendments that would affect college football's off-season and practice schedules. So follow me here. Presently teams have their 15 spring practices, and then you have your opportunity in fall camp to have 25 practices. So you have your 15 spring practices, and then you have fall camp in August, which is 25 practices before you begin your work for your season opening opponent. Usually those 25 practices span 3 weeks of fall camp. So what they're proposing now, and this is actually something that Nick Saban, to his credit, was one of the ones sort of like pounding the drum for, is more of an OTA structure. Now, if you're not an NFL fan, if you don't have a favorite team or follow the offseason, it's okay. But in the NFL, OTAs are organized team activities, and they happen in several different smaller increments over the course of a month or so. And it allows coaches and players to have on-field work that spreads out further over the offseason instead of that sort of compressed time period for spring football. So if you think of it in this way, they would the proposal would allow for 2 out-of-season practice sessions. So instead of thinking about spring football over a month, you'd have 2 different, we'll call them OTAs, right? But it would total 21 practices, and neither of those could exceed 5 weeks. So you could, in theory, have 10 practices in one session, 11 practices in another session, where you're doing 2 a week, maybe, over those 5 weeks. And so now you could effectively have 10 weeks of off-season work with your team where you're not doing anything super intense. There's not a giant risk of injury. You're maybe not even hitting. I mean, just think about what we saw with Saints OTAs. But what you're doing is you're getting on-field work. You're learning the offense. You're repping. You're getting You're doing install. So when you get to your preseason practice, now you're more ready to go. Think of all the ways we talked about OTAs. It's sort of conditioning for training camp, and then training camp is conditioning for the season. So it would more closely mirror that. It would reduce the number of preseason practices, what we now call fall camp, from 25 to 21. So because now instead of your 21 or your 15 spring practices, you're going to expand that to 21 over a longer period of time. So you're going to compress fall camp, which I'm okay with. If you reduce 4 practices there, you're still getting more work in totality. This makes a lot of sense, especially doing away with the spring transfer portal. It doesn't hurt you to start doing install before your transfers get there, because your transfer is going to be there for the start of the spring semester. So this is something that I really hope does pass. It would also reduce, they're also talking about reducing the portal window from 15 days to 10 days. I don't think that necessarily matters tremendously. I think it's not the size or length of the portal window, it's when the portal window opens. But with respect to the end of the season and the start of the spring semester in January, that's been the complicating factor. You want to fix that, you need to move the season up and have the season end on New Year's Day. If you do that, then the portal window opening in January is largely irrelevant in that respect. So if they want to shorten the window, that's fine. They're also talking about increasing the number of staff members that can recruit off campus to 17. So 16 assistants and then the head coach. So a lot of things that I like, and I think is not only forward thinking, but is it is more showing an acceptance of what this era is like. It's a recognition of what the realities are in college football today. And yes, allow more coaches to go recruit off campus. Yes, shrink the portal window. Yes, add OTAs and lengthen out the offseason so you don't have as much concentrated heavy work. You can make it, lighter work over a longer period of time. So the NFL ain't stupid. There's a reason the NFL doesn't have spring practice and then fall camp. Like, they have a structure where it's OTAs and mini camp and then training camp, because they've analyzed all of this data over a year. So just use the model that the best example you could possibly get already uses. So we'll see if that does, in fact, pass when it comes up for a vote. All right, it's After Further Review, brought to you by Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. Windows, doors, siding, shutters, and shades. Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. Storm season's here, y'all. I love the commercial that Brandon did for years, where he's hitting the window with a crowbar and it didn't break through. Those are the Storm Force impact resistant windows. So those are Cat 5 tested in Miami-Dade County. They're basically, they could withstand impact from something from a storm that's Cat 5 storm. So debris flying through the air hits that window, it's not going to shatter through. Well, think of that's an extra layer of security for your home. Obviously, they're energy efficient, so it's going to reduce your energy bills, and they're beautiful. And get a lifetime transferable warranty there with Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding, shutters, and shades. Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. Okay, it is After Further Review. We're glad to have you aboard with us here. We do it every day about this time. Let's go around the SEC.
Around the SEC, bringing you the biggest news from the nation's best conference. The Texas Longhorns.
For the 5th time in program history, the Texas Longhorns athletic program has won the Learfield Directors Cup. Texas outlasted Stanford, UCLA to collect the title for the 2025-2026 season. The Learfield Directors Cup is given to athletic programs that excel across all sports across an entire year of competition. Texas finished the 2025 and 2026 season with a total of 1,322 points, having won 3 national titles in softball, women's rowing, and men's swimming and diving. The Longhorns also finished second in men's tennis and reached the College World Series in baseball, among other notable achievements.
The Georgia Bulldogs.
Aaron Murray, former All-SEC quarterback at Georgia from 2009 to 2013, reported by Front Office Sports on Wednesday that Murray is being bumped up to the top of the SEC network for the 2026 season. Murray will join Matt Shoemaker in the booth this fall as the SEC network's #1 announcing team. Murray and Shoemaker will be replacing last year's top announcing crew on SEC network that was comprised of Tom Hart, Jordan Rogers, and Cole Kublik.
The Arkansas Razorbacks.
Florida Gulf Coast transfer right-handed pitcher Chris Diaz has announced his commitment to Arkansas. The Miami native was tabbed second All-ASUN this season, posting a 3.98 ERA and 15 appearances, all starts for the Eagles. Diaz surrendered 32 earned runs, issued 26 walks, struck out 74 batters across 72 and one-third innings.
The South Carolina Gamecocks.
South Carolina has landed a commitment from Georgia right-handed pitcher Jordan Stevens. He announced on social media on Thursday after starting his career at Abraham Baldwin Agricultural College in Tifton, Georgia. He spent the past 2 seasons at Georgia. He went 5-0 with a 5.7 ERA and 35 appearances with 2 starts. He racked up 45 strikeouts, 31 walks, and 39 innings of work.
The Tennessee Volunteers.
According to rivals Haas Fawcett, the Vols have suffered a decommitment from 4-star defensive lineman Caden Fife. The blue chip pass rusher had been committed to Tennessee since November. He will now explore his options somewhere else. We don't know where he will end up, but it's noted that he has also taken visits from Georgia and Ole Miss, that is around the SEC.
All right, thank you, Jordan. Appreciate it. It's After Further Review. We're glad to have you hanging out with us here from Marucci's Hitter's House. Our Thursday shows, as always, are brought to you by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. As we tell you, it's not just health care, it's health care for your lifestyle. Blasia and her awesome team will take great care of you. If it's, you're bringing home a new baby, it was actually... I was over at, I told you on Tuesday, I was at the event honoring our friend, the late Ruffin Roderick for the Epicurean Society. Bumped into Clay Harris from LSU's Chief Revenue Officer, and Clay and his lovely wife, Stephanie, just had their first baby. And I said, hey, man, y'all sleep? And he goes, nope. I was like, so my thought is, hey, man, call Blasia. Decision Critical. They'll send a great nurse over if you need to sleep for a night, a couple nights, whatever it may be. They can take care of the baby while you catch up on your sleep so you can be your best during the day. It's Decision Critical Concierge Nursing, from birth to end-of-life care, carrying out a doctor's instructions at home, a doctor's orders at home, whatever it may be. Our friends at Decision Critical can help. DecisionCriticalBR.com, DecisionCriticalBR.com. All right, y'all, it is After Further Review. Thanks for hanging out with us here on this Thursday edition of AFR. We got a ton to do. As a matter of fact, coming up right after the top of the hour, Ross Jackson will be here. Ross put out his post, I guess, Saints offseason 53-man roster projection. It's up at LouisianaSports.net. A few things I want to talk about with Ross, so we'll wrap it a little bit. Billy Embody, you might remember, covered LSU for a lot of years, covers SMU. I want to talk a little bit about Jaron Pierre, who the Pelicans drafted, so we'll get a little tidbit from a guy who covered him at SMU. That's coming up a little bit as well. So glad to have you hanging out with us here. Let's knock out a quick break. We'll wrap up hour number 1 next on AFR.
After Further Review.
GLO, glowresources.com, glowresources.com. They are complete employer solutions over at Glow Resources. Remember, if you're a business owner or if you're just the person in your business responsible for finding the right people, if you're the person who hires, HR manager, hiring manager, ops manager, whatever it is in your business, and you need the right people, Glow Resources can help. That's what they do. Their entire business is centered around finding the right people for whatever job you're trying to fill in whatever industry. So it doesn't matter if it's skilled blue-collar labor or any type of office job. I mean, from an office assistant all the way up to the C-suite. Our friends at Glow Resources can help. They conduct roughly 50 interviews a day, so that's about 15,000 interviews over the course of the year. They're experts at knowing the right questions to ask to find the right person for your job. So check them out and start online at glowresources.com.
After Further Review with Matt Moscona, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. Healthcare for your lifestyle. Learn more at DecisionCriticalBR.com.
Hey, remember, you can step inside the heart of baseball at the Marucci Campus Tour right here in Baton Rouge, literally right behind where we are. The wood shops, the paint booths, the finishing rooms where the official bats of Major League Baseball are made. Experience museum-style exhibits, the interactive displays. It's awesome, especially if you live here and you've never come taking this tour. What are you waiting on? It's maruccisports.com/campus-tour, or just go to maruccisports.com and you'll see the links to get there. But maruccisports.com/campus-tour for more information. All right, it's After Further Review. We're glad to have you hanging out with us here. The United States are back on the field. The United States are back on the pitch tonight. I struggle with y'all know, man, like, The United States is, not are. I don't know. And you know what? You know one thing that bothers me? Delondra, get on the headset, please. I got to ask you this question. I don't care if you go in front of the camera. That's fine. It's what it is. Like, you know what I'm talking about? How, like, soccer people say, like, the country as...
Turkey?
Well, no, plural instead of singular. So, like, the United States are.
Oh.
Like, instead of the United States is playing. Like, the United States are leading. No. The United States is leading. We're one country, right?
Yeah.
You know, like, that bothers me. And, like...
Can I play devil's advocate?
Yeah.
The United States is, like, more than one state.
I get it.
Yeah.
But we are one nation.
No,
that is,
for sure.
That is one team.
Yeah.
It's like the Chicago Bears. You don't say the Bears is leading.
Right.
It's many players,
yeah.
but they're one team. The Bears are leading, right? Okay, so that bothers me. But what really bothers me more is that Americans who know better do that only with regard to soccer.
Okay.
Like,
I guess I never noticed that.
in your life, if you're saying anything about the United States, and you're referring to our country, you're going to say the United States
is.
Wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Is beautiful.
Right.
The United States is 250 years old. Wouldn't you say that?
Yes.
You wouldn't say the United States are
No.
beautiful. The United States are. But Americans do it when it comes to soccer. I'm like, what you doing, fam? Like, don't try to act like them because they do it wrong.
We're not them.
They do it wrong.
Yeah.
All right? We speak English. This is America.
Correct.
We can call it, you want to call it a pitch because that's what they call it? I'm fine with that. You would call it the uniforms kits because, okay.
Yeah.
I'm good with that. But we cannot ignore the rules of grammar
No.
to try to fit in.
Just because you're English.
Or anybody.
Yeah.
Hour 2's next. AFR.
After further review.
We're brought to you by Supper Club, supperclubbtr.com, supperclubbtr.com. Get your reservations at supperclubbtr.com. Not far from where we are right now, Alondra. I'm going to pop up to Perkins, hang a right before we get to Bluebonnet. It's on the left. Get your reservations, y'all. Weekend's almost here. Better yet, how about this? I got a better idea. It's Thursday, so just start your weekend now. Go to Supper Club. I mean, when you knock off of work, instead of going home, call your significant other, call your girlfriend, whoever, and say, hey, look, don't cook tonight. We're going to Supper Club. Even if you don't have a reservation, no sweat. Open seating at the bar, 14 bar stools, 7 bar tables. So you take a shot. Maybe wait a little bit, but have a cocktail, glass of wine at the bar, and then have dinner tonight and make it a memorable night just because you went to Supper Club. SupperClubbTR.com.